Welcome your host, Caddy Frink, as she leads discussions about substance use disorder and the journey to recovery. You're listening to Redefining Recovery, a recovery revolution.
Well, good day, good day, good day. Hello, how are you? What's going on?
Hello.
Who's across the table from me?
Sarah.
Sarah. Well, my name is Caddy Frink, and I'm with Sarah Kemp, like the ice cream.
Like the ice cream.
We're from Minnesota Recovery Connection. We are hosting the show Redefining Recovery, a recovery revolution here on AM 950, the progressive radio station. I'm going to make a semi-formal, informal announcement, and it may not happen all the time, but I think Miss Sarah Kemp is going to become the co-host of the show.
So
Sarah,
cool.
I know. Well, you have been a fine second fiddle for filling in the blanks that sometimes I cannot be present.
Even though it's nerve-wracking on the other side of the table, it's fun though.
It is, isn't it? Well, welcome to Redefining Recovery, a recovery revolution. Here we talk about people that struggle with substance use disorder, the people that love the people that struggle with substance use disorder. And we do want to thank the funders. We have been getting donations. And I must tell you, we did a call to action a couple shows ago. And I must say, for those of you that have been giving us donations, we are beside ourselves with gratitude. Sarah and I were just
unexpected. I mean, honestly, it's unexpected because you don't know what's going to come of something like what you and Cynthia did.
Yeah. And Sarah and Darnell had a great show this past Saturday talking about the pillars of Minnesota Recovery Connection, and we're going to continue that conversation. But most importantly, Miss Sarah, what's right with you today?
What's right with me today? I think for me, the reminder that life outside of work is more important than work itself at times. Because this last weekend, my boyfriend and I, we went to go play bingo with the sister and his nieces and all that stuff and just had a fun time. Yeah. And we haven't done anything like that in a while. And just remembering that that's what's important. Yeah.
Yeah. Having a life outside we spend more time at work than we do probably with our significant others awake.
Yes. Awake. And we both have been kind of grumpy with each other just because of life and all that stuff. And so to have a night like that, I'm like, this is what matters.
Yeah.
I mean, this is important too. All
of it is. I mean, but we talk about a lot at Minnesota Recovery Connection and the work that we do with the people that we serve and the community that we serve, and that is work-life or recovery-life balance is extraordinarily important.
And easy to put on the back burner, so it was just a good reminder for me. How about you, Caddy? What's right with you today?
I am so incredibly grateful for the friendships that I have. Again, I also had a really nice weekend with my friend Kay. And she and I just had we got our toes done.
Good.
So, and then sat in the backyard and had some chats.
With your new rug and everything?
My new rug. And I got to do some gardening this past weekend. And that's my happy place. That's my recovery place. Yep. It literally is. I can go out there. I don't have buds in my ears. I have nothing. It's just me and the ground and all the plants and the arguing with plants sometimes. The plants sometimes win. But no, I'm just so grateful that we're at a beautiful time of year for just a beautiful time of the year.
Yeah. Even though the smoky air was a little
much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we just have to say, okay, we can get through this. Yes.
Exactly.
So again, we want to say thank you to those donors that have come through giving us donations. We've got organizations that have given us support in the past, the Patrick and Amy Butler Foundation, Otto Bremer, the Hardenberg Foundation, and others. But our call to action is really kind of where we're at right now. And Sarah and Darnell, what did you talk about last week?
What a peer recovery specialist is. We were doing because there's a lot of misinformation out there still. So Darnell talked about what a peer recovery specialist can do, what they can't do, just to help the community understand the job and what it is. Yeah. So
Good. Yeah. That's great. One of our other pillars, so it's peer-to-peer services, advocacy, and education. So the next show will be about education, which is a little bit of my bag.
A little bit. Like 99% of it.
Yeah, for sure. But we're going to talk about advocacy. And advocacy in the peer recovery world is something that we kind of almost take for granted.
And probably don't even know when we're doing it.
Right.
Just because it's our everyday.
Right. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of highlight what it looks like, what advocacy looks like. And the people who help the people who are struggling with substance use disorder, the families and the friends and the communities and the places of business, all those spaces and places advocate for people all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't think we see it that way.
No, I think, at least for me, I'm just going to speak for myself, but I just see it as doing part of my job. Mm-hmm. Or, just helping my participant out. I don't see it as advocacy. Right. We just do it sort of naturally because we might call it a little bit of caretaking. Might be. But, for example, for me, I have a participant that's wanting to take our class, our peer recovery specialist training class. Mm-hmm. Her probation officer and public defender didn't know what this training was, what it's about, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And she has some other stuff that I had to send a letter stating where it is, what time it is, what are we covering in the class, and why I think it's important for her to go through this training.
Right.
And I just thought of it as I'm just doing my job.
Yeah.
But that's advocating for my participant to make sure she can do something or try to help her get to that be
point.
Able to do.
Right. Yeah. Well, and also there's a little bit of education there you did too with a couple of other sources. So when we advocate, we educate, generally speaking. Yeah. And when we give people more knowledge, we go back to you don't know what you don't know until you know it. And then you do better. Yeah. Thank you, Celie Dudley.
Do you know how much that plays in my head
I know
the day?
a lot. I know it does too. And I having just done a class last week on Zoom, it came up several times when people were like, well, I just didn't know that. And I'm like, but now you do, and you can do better. It's one of those things where we sometimes criticize ourselves for not knowing something. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, I should have known that. But if you don't have any exposure to it, it's not part of your lived experience. It's way outside the realm.
Yeah.
How are you going to know?
Exactly.
So we got to make sure that we cut ourselves some slack.
Yep.
So we're going to talk about advocacy, and we advocate for our participants, but we advocate for our families and our friends too,
and ourselves. If we think about it.
Oh, you're so smart.
I try.
That's why you're the officially unofficial co-host here at AM 950.
Maybe my title might get smaller.
Yeah, Redefining Recovery Revolution, the co-host. So we advocate for ourselves as well. And that happens in many different ways if I think about it. And so we're going to kind of broaden that conversation. So again, I want to let everybody know that we are doing a call to action to help support what Minnesota Recovery Connection does. We've been so incredibly pleased about the donations that have been coming in, and understand there's a lot of changes happening in the health industry, in the communities, and funding is being cut, and we are not immune to that situation. Mm-mm. And so what we want to do is say, if you like this program and you like what you hear about what Minnesota Recovery Connection does, feel free.
Yes. At any level, any amount, we just appreciate that you're willing to share with us, because you don't have to, and you're choosing to. Yeah. So we just appreciate that you're willing to do that.
Yeah. And so to that point, what I want to do is before we take our first break, I want to mention that we have our Walk for Recovery.
Yes.
For everyone to put on their calendar, whether you're in recovery, you're a friend of somebody in recovery, or you just an ally, just a bunch of, you just want to come to a fun event where there's food trucks and there's businesses. So September 13th at the state capitol. We have, as I said, food trucks. We've got kid zones. We've got a pet zone.
We might have goats.
We might have goats. Is that what
I thought we might have
goats? Yeah. Or your random horse.
Animal.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll have a duck for sure.
Yes.
But please join us at the Minnesota State Capitol on September 13th from 10 until 3. We will be there with bells on.
Bells and bows and
all kinds of things. Yes. So thank you for listening. We'll be coming back and talk about advocacy here on Minnesota Recovery Connection's Redefining Recovery, a recovery revolution on AM 950.
6 strings, 'cause without it there's no song. And this house needs love in it.
Wow, hello. Hello out there in Radio Land. This is Caddy Frink with
Sarah Kemp.
And we are
Talking about advocacy today.
And on our program of
Minnesota Recovery Connection, Redefining Recovery, Recovery Revolution on AM 950.
Woo!
Yay, did it.
So,
Woo!
Sarah.
It's a mouthful.
It's a mouthful. It absolutely is. So, since we are sort of officially, unofficially leaning on Sarah as our co-host for this show, I'm trying to get her used to the whole spiel that we got.
Yes, it's a mouthful. I'm going to have to write it down every time I do it on my own.
So, advocacy.
It's a big word.
A big word.
From what I see in our office, we do it almost every day.
Mm-hmm.
Our certified peer recovery specialists do it every day.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to Darnell this morning, just for some examples.
Darnell Cox. Our operations director here at Minnesota Recovery Connection.
Yes. And he was saying some of the ways that he's advocated for his participants, going to treatment instead of doing, or like having to go to jail or prison, doing treatment instead of.
So somebody comes in and they're kind of like on that fence of what could happen. They could either go into Department of Corrections.
Primarily when he's going into the Dakota County Jail.
Okay.
You know, I from what I remember, he says some people are waiting for sentencing.
Okay.
And so advocating for going to treatment
instead of incarceration.
Yeah.
Which is, let's just call it, that is an amazing opportunity for someone rather than be, kind of in a place where there's not much support to go into a place. And if they're willing and they're wanting and it's available to them, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. That's one of his ways. He also says just helping people that he's working with in general, not necessarily within the Dakota County Jail, but helping just write his normal, don't like that word either, his regular caseload if they want to get into treatment.
Right.
Or recovery residences, just advocating that way.
Yeah.
And Alicia advocates for her participants
all the time.
Yeah.
So Alicia Dottie, she is one of our coordinators at Minnesota Recovery Connection, and she works heavily with the justice impacted. But we want to make sure that people understand we don't just work with justice involved
No, those were
individuals.
just the ideas that came to my head.
Yeah, and because in that scenario, there's a lot of people that need advocacy, and mainly because they have been withdrawn from what I would say, and you didn't like the word normal, but I'm going to use it
just
here.
Just because it felt...
Yeah, but it's like normal society. They've been sort of captured out of that, and now they're sort of in a middle landing place. And what we can do is we can say, hey, we see you because you've reached out to us to get some support.
Yeah.
And in that way that we can reach out to them. But we do that with people all the time.
And I think Darnell made a good point last week when we were doing the show together. Some people, no matter what your situation is, may not have a support system.
Exactly.
So working with someone like Darnell or Alicia or anyone else at Minnesota Recovery Connection, that could be their support.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think about doing the training classes that I do. I have anywhere from 20 to 40 people that I encounter in a month generally. Yeah. This last class that I just had on Zoom, there were several different people that had a multitude of different situations. And I'm always saying, okay, well, here's an idea. And I realize anytime I give somebody an idea, that's in a way it's advocating for people. Because if they aren't sure what the next step is, I say, here, well, why don't you give this an idea? Why don't you give this a thought? Here's what you could do. Yep. We never say should, we say could.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, I never thought about that way. Like when I'm looking for a job, here's what you could do when you're looking for a job. I want to make sure that you're looking for peer recovery services, not peer services. And if you want to do a job that is sitting down someplace, here's what that would look like. And everybody's like, huh. And I think I'm going to pick up on what you were talking about last week, which is how do you do this job of peer recovery services and what are the do's and the don'ts? And they're very specific.
Yes, they are.
And they become much more specific in the last couple of years. And so when, think about this, folks, when you're sitting with somebody that you love and you care about and they're kind of at a loss, you give them a suggestion. You might tell them what they should do, which could happen. It's possible that you might use the word should, but really that's advocacy potentially. If you give somebody an idea and they follow through with it, what's happened is you've given them an opportunity, and then if they succeed at it, that is absolutely advocating for somebody.
Yes, it is. And I think it helps brainstorm for other people. You might give a suggestion for when someone's looking for a job or, whatever that looks like. And they're like, what if I did this too? On top of what you suggested, I could do this too.
Yeah.
So it could snowball.
Yeah, it gets people's minds going. And so I think about the advocacy that I do at Minnesota Recovery Connection. We've got volunteers that come in and they want to take the class, or they're going to get a job. Can you write me a reference? I'm like, absolutely. I will tell them what I know. I won't sugarcoat it. I won't say things that are not being said.
Right.
And that's another thing about advocacy, that it has to come from a truth-based situation. We sometimes have people say, well, could you say this or could you say that?
No, we cannot unless it's true.
Yeah. And that's okay too, because what that reminds people is that it's important to have the information that's accurate so that they can speak to what it is that they want or what they have actually done. Because sometimes people forget how far along they've come.
Yeah. Or don't see it. I've had a lot of, or not me personally, but our organization has had a lot of volunteers that have come a far way, that when they first started might have been a little quiet, not a lot of self-confidence, and then seeing the growth within somebody is super cool. And then they go off and get jobs and they don't volunteer anymore, and then I'm sad. But
that's on a personal note. But look at what we have done for them. Yes. And that's part of advocacy, is giving people an opportunity to find their recovery community and maybe find their self. Yeah.
Or writing letters for volunteers for various situations that they might have that I've done before. I know you've helped write letters too for people. And that's also another way of advocating for our volunteers, because they're very important to us at our organization.
Yeah. Well, and also think about the people and the friends and the family that we've had too. I know I've reached out to friends and family over the years and I've said, hey, you know what I've learned would be really helpful for the situation that you're telling me about, or literally just showing up and listening to somebody. That's advocating too. Because sometimes people just need a shoulder. They need a space where they just are not going to be told what to do. They're going to be given an opportunity to sort of be present.
Yeah. And just be.
Just be. Yeah. I think about a couple of people when we were at Pride Festival. I sat down on Sunday when we had just a multitude of people come in and volunteer at the Pride Festival. And I wasn't doling out advice, but having been in the community for a long time.
You were giving some ideas.
I was giving some ideas, and I was giving people a way to look at themselves on how, like you just said, how good they are doing. Because sometimes people don't see that even if they had a reuse. There was a young gentleman who had been in recovery and had struggled a little bit and had been have a little point of being in recovery and not using substances, and then went back and kind of had a little fallout with some substances, and then come back. And I'm like, look at what you have put together.
Right.
Let me just tell you how important that is, that you are coming back and going back and forth. I mean, that in and of itself is, you're recognizing something.
That reminds me of that story you say in the RCA.
Which
is the guy that went to treatment so many times.
Yeah. There was a gentleman, maybe I haven't told the story in a long time, and he was a mature gentleman, probably near his 70s, and he had been to 27 treatments. And he was a little downtrodden from that because he had been called a frequent flyer. That's something that we hear in our community. And anybody who uses that, if somebody goes to treatment, I want you to interpret that ability for somebody who is determined to get in recovery. I looked at this gentleman and I used a very sharp word, and I won't use it on the air because that
then
would
she'll get bleeped.
Yeah, it'd be inappropriate. But I said, how bleeping bad did you want recovery that you went to treatment 27 times? I said, to me, that's somebody who is striving to get better. And he looked at me and he's like, wow, hadn't thought about that way. And then I saw an entire classroom go, yeah, I hadn't thought about it that way.
And that's advocacy too, because you're helping someone see the difference, seeing it from a different lens. And that just reminds me too of when we talk about in our Recovery Coach Academy, the language, the recovery friendly language.
Yeah.
And not using the stigmatizing, or trying to not use the stigmatizing, because I still mess it up on occasion.
Yeah.
But just teaching people about that.
Yeah, using recovery instead of sober. Sober is fine too. Please don't. I never want to say that or clean. We just try to give somebody, recovery is a journey, and that's the way it is. So wherever you are on that journey, but we say recovery instead of some of those other terms, or we say, clean and dirty. If somebody has a positive test result, we say that was. That's what it was, a positive test result for substances rather than being dirty because of the perception that it gives. And we don't use substance abuse any longer because abuse has a strong connotation. And it's so interesting when we're in class, and you've seen it too, when all of a sudden people go, yeah, well, abuse has so many different meanings to it. It's the strength of the word. I would rather advocate for somebody and say, you have a substance use disorder problem. You have you have an addiction, and that's okay. That word is okay. You have an addiction, and it is a disease. So let's advocate for you and get you what you're looking for. That is the whole essence of what Minnesota Recovery Connection does.
And it makes our staff also remember, or I hope our staff remember also to advocate for themselves. I've seen it on occasion. I think our staff is getting better about it because we can't just advocate for our participants in their community all the time and not take care of us too. So, we honor mental health days at Minnesota Recovery Connection, and I've had some of my team members come up and tell me they need to take a mental health day.
Right.
And so that's advocating for themselves, too. Because if you're not, and I know I say this all the time, folks, but if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't show up in life the way you want to.
For other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think what it shows people, so if we even recognize it from our partners or our the important people in our lives, even our children or our grandparents or our parents, if we say, hey, you know what, it feels like you're a little bit stressed out right now. Can we go, what would you like to do to reduce the stress? That's advocating for people as well. So when you recognize that somebody is at a breaking point or working towards that, because we don't want people to burn out. We don't want people to just, say that I'm done with a lot of different things. And in our world, if they get done, that can mean going back to their substance use disorder. We've had not many people, we've had people, and we've all known people that have burned out and they do reckless behavior, whatever that might look like. And when you say, hey, I care so much about you that I'm recognizing that you're kind of a little bit off your mark right now. What do you need support with? That's advocacy. So, the idea that Minnesota Recovery Connection and this whole thing that we do, we offer these peer-to-peer services, helping somebody who's got lived experience like myself, lived experience like Sarah, like Darnell, like everybody that we've had on the show and the people that support us. If we can hear what people have to say, advocate for them. And then our last pillar is the education part that we'll talk about. We are literally giving people the tools to their kingdom. Yeah. And that's why the whole reason why our organization really found its foundation is that what we try to do is we try to empower people to be the best humans that they can.
Yes. And I think, and Darnell and I talked about this last week, but going through our training with Caddy, our peer recovery specialist training, is teaching people that their substance use disorder wasn't for nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing.
It wasn't for nothing? I like that. Wasn't for nothing.
It can be used for good.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sometimes, and that can happen, if we think about it, there's substance use disorder, but there's somebody who has been through a tough lived experience. It can be the educational piece they need to move forward. They can have had great education and great experiences in life, and that's education that moves them forward. And they can be alongside other people. These experiences that we have in life, seen as negative, aren't necessarily negative. They're an opportunity to what's on the other side.
And to advocate.
Yes. And we were just talking in the car when we were driving here. There's a beautiful book that I was gifted by Sue Hoisington, who I admire. It's called The Boy, the Fox, the Mole, and the Horse. And it is a lovely little book about being optimistic. And one of the things that we talk about, and that is, we've all heard there's the glass half full.
Yes.
Or
half empty.
Half empty. But then
Be thankful you have a glass.
There you go. Sometimes, and that would be enough to give somebody some hope and giving them the opportunity. It's like, let me just give you a glass. Mm-hmm. That might be what you need right now. We're not even going to worry about what's going to go in that little dude.
Yeah, but just having it.
Having it to know that you can move forward because you've got a glass that you can drink whatever your little heart desires that does not have any alcohol content to it.
Right, exactly.
Preferably. Can't speak for all. But remembering that this whole idea about what the recovery community does, and there's so many different, there's treatment, there's inpatient, there's outpatient, there's detox, there's justice impact,
or no treatment for some people.
No
like
treatment.
You didn't go to treatment.
No, but there's all these different modalities.
Yes.
Oh, there's a big word.
That is a Scrabble word right there.
It's a Scrabble word, yeah. Ooh, Scrabble smart. Can't spell worth a darn. Neither one of us can.
Nope, not at all.
But it's, there's all kinds of these opportunities for people, but what people sometimes need is they need the information on how and what they are. And that literally is a point of like, have you ever thought about, and here's some of the information around, that's giving people a tool for their toolkit.
And then they can spread the word.
Yeah, and they get to spread their own wings too, and that's what we try to do with a lot of different people. I mean, having the position that I have in doing all these trainings, I look at people's eyes. Like I said, I was on class with 20 people last week on Zoom, and besides my brain wanting to melt by the end of the week.
I was going to say, Zoom is different than in person.
Yes, but it is an amazing opportunity because some people aren't going to be good in person, and I honor that all day long.
Or then we can, the collective we can reach greater Minnesota, southern Minnesota, all the
different places. Yeah. And by the end of the week, what I see is people going, oh, my recovery means so much more than just not using drugs or alcohol.
Yeah.
It means I am a bigger, smarter, more better human
person.
Yeah. And it's so fun when people see that they have more content to their character, which is a coined phrase that we all generally know where it came from, Martin Luther King. So, the whole idea of advocating for people is really helping people along.
Yeah.
And in our world, there's a lot of people that are struggling. And there's been a recent, very large change happened in the housing community.
Yes.
For a lot of different people, not just in the substance use disorder world,
just
in general. And so for those of you who know what I'm talking about, a very large department of Minnesota services has closed down due to some bad actors. And we know that people are going to be struggling to find a place to lay their head. Mm-hmm. And with that being said, the idea that if somebody is living without a home or somebody is in a tough situation, please send them our way. We can't guarantee anything, but if you know anybody who's really struggling out there, that's why Minnesota Recovery Connection is with us. Because what do?
We help people.
And we have a ton of
resources.
And we
help remove barriers the best we can. And if we can't, we'll give you the resource that can help you.
Yes. So there you go. There's a little plug.
And or other, if you're not in the Twin Cities.
Yes.
And you're listening to us from wherever you are.
Around the world, there's all kinds of different places.
There's other RCOs around the state of Minnesota that...
Recovery community organizations.
Yes, thank you.
We talk in acronyms a lot, folks. So every now and then I got to pull it out. So we make sure.
Gosh. Yeah, that was not even thinking of that one. That are around the state that can provide services as well.
Yeah. And the thing is that I know I've got friends and family that are listening to us outside of Minnesota. There are so many resources around the recovery community. Mm-hmm. But if you know somebody who's struggling, there's the thing called, I call it the Google. And I know there are many other search engines that are out there. Aren't you impressed? I said the right word.
I know.
That was kind of fancy, wasn't it? I know. I'm getting all fancy. There's a lot of different searching resources out there. But if you know somebody who's struggling, you can be that advocate for somebody and say, hey, you know what? I listened to this program. I know that you're struggling right now. Can I sit down next to you and maybe we can have a conversation and maybe we could look at some opportunities? That is like advocacy from such a heart place.
Yeah.
If you were to, help somebody, other states have many different ways that they do this recovery work or peer-to-peer services. But the idea is that if somebody is in need and you are the person who recognizes it, what do? You
help support.
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that's really what it comes down to. And when Minnesota Recovery Connection was first beginning, it really was just a volunteer organization to help people build their recovery communities. We did telephone recovery support. Why don't you talk about telephone recovery support, because it supports and it advocates on several different levels.
So telephone recovery support is a program. It's a free program that we have. People sign up on our website, minnesotarecovery.org. They can pick a day, a specific time. We do our best to accommodate that because it is a volunteer-based position, so we do our best. But it's our volunteers and staff call people once a week just to check in on their recovery, if they need resources that week. So it's essentially also like peer services, just over the phone.
It's kind of like pre-peer recovery services.
I call it intro to peer recovery services.
There we go. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
It's just over the phone, but it's essentially, you're doing your listening skills. You're doing the motivational stuff if before if they've taken the class or that kind of stuff. But it's an intro to peer recovery services,
as well as it's an opportunity for people to actually maybe find a little bit of their own confidence. And I've seen that happen. There's a gentleman who came in on Friday afternoon, and because I'm behind a screen, I know he's next to me because I can hear a rumble.
Sure.
I can hear a rumble of a deeper voice. And when he first came in, he had taken the class, and he was not a lively human. He was very quiet, very subdued.
Just unsure of himself, maybe.
Well, just very quiet.
With the telephone recovery support.
And so I saw him, and he waved at me through the glass window of my office, and I could just see a little spark of something new in him. And he had talked to a few people, is what I'm going to make the assumption of. But what happens is that he's helping somebody else, even as simple as, but as miraculous as having a conversation, but it helps build that person's self-confidence, makes them feel worthy, makes them feel as though they are part of something.
Doing something. And I think too, just in general terms, I've seen our volunteers' confidence grow just in general. If they're there, if they're there a lot, I've seen it. And advocating for themselves too, like, I need your help with this.
Yep.
Can you give me advice on this? Whatever that looks like, I've seen it.
Yeah. Well, and when you give somebody the confidence, then they begin to have the voice. And once they have the voice, then they can vocalize what they need.
Yeah.
And we've seen that with several different volunteers where they're like, hey, Caddy, can you tell me about this? Or can you, I'm looking for information about that. And I would say probably prior to that, these are people that would just sit behind their front desk and answer the phones. And that is absolutely all that we request that they do. But all of a sudden, when they start sort of opening up and become fuller humans, because they have the opportunity to volunteer with us, they begin to advocate, as you said, for themselves.
Yeah. And I think, too, it helps that, and I don't know what happened before me, obviously, but when I know I do, I know you do, we try to get to know our volunteers, too, on a semi-personal level. So I think that helps, too, have them realize that we do care.
Yep.
And that this is a safe place for them. So they're like, oh, okay. And then I've had a couple people tell me they miss our organization when they're not volunteering.
Yeah. Go out and get a job. Jeez.
And I'm just like, really? I mean, I don't know why that surprises me, but it does.
Well, I mean, because we are somewhat of we are a small organization,
yes, we are.
But we are also, I would say, a loose family.
Yes.
We are not your family. We are not going to pretend that. But we all have the same, and that's the thing about our organization. We all have the same mindset, which is we all struggled. We are on our journey in recovery. And so there's a common understanding. There's just sort of like this soft, squishy place where people can land.
You don't have to
pretend.
Yeah.
No, if you're having a bad day, that is totally fine. And if you're having a great day, we certainly want to know about it.
Exactly, because we'll understand regardless.
Yeah, and that's that is literally where the space that we want to hold for people in their recovery journey. If you're watching the video, Sarah is like swinging her head back and forth.
I can hear the music.
Just distracting me. Well, thank you for listening to Redefining Recovery Revolution. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be back here on AM 950, the Progressive Radio Station. Thank you.
There's no home. And there's one thing that I've learned through this year of being alone.
Kind of popped out ahead of time. Love this music. Thank you, Erin Fitzgerald.
She was very excited to get back to the show.
I can't sing worth a darn, but man, I just want to hum that one out loud. We are back. Redefining Recovery, Recovery Revolution. Sarah Kemp.
And Caddy Frink.
Yes, here we are. So we're talking about advocacy. And in a simple space, in a word, it means I care about you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, too, it shows that you're a person, you're valuable, and that you deserve it.
Mm-hmm. And we will, and I support anybody who sees somebody who's in a situation where they are unsure what the next thing is. Mm-hmm. Stop, listen, get information, and then maybe you get to be that person that gives them a tip, a trick, a skill, an opportunity for you to advocate for them. But most importantly, what do we want to do?
Listen.
And have people advocate for themselves.
Give them that empowerment.
Yeah. And it's really one of the things that we see when people find their recovery, they begin to like sit up a little bit straighter. They begin to like say more and
find their voice.
Yeah. And a lot of us who struggled with substance use disorder, we didn't feel like we had any place anymore. How about you, Sarah?
No, and I isolated a lot, so I was alone a lot.
Yeah. And that's because we don't have a voice anymore.
Yeah.
Because we're lost either within the cycle of the addiction, or we don't see ourselves as valuable anymore, or we are hurting so bad that we don't want anybody else to hurt us anymore because we might be afraid.
And you don't want anyone to see you that way. Or at least that's how I was. I didn't want anyone to see me that way.
Right. And so when an individual is coming out of their darker space, and this is not just with substance use disorder, please, we must remember that mental health issues are something. There's a lot of activities going on in the country and the world right now, some of which are unpredictable. People who are feeling a little downtrodden, if we step up and we say, hey, is there anything I can do for you today? Is there anything I can support you with? Do you want to just have a conversation? You want to go get a cup of coffee? That is, in a nutshell, that's even advocating for people because it's walking alongside folks.
And showing just support.
Yeah.
And some people just need you to show up.
Yeah. And I showed up for the office today. What did I bring in today?
Coffee, because our coffee maker broke. And so people were like, where's the coffee? And I'm like, it's not working. I called the place. I left them a message. I'm like, but I need coffee. And I was like, let me call Caddy and see. So Caddy brought in coffee.
Yes. And that is, that in and of itself, if you think about somebody is off of their routine, they might get a little cranky because the little caffeine isn't being filled in if that's what they enjoy.
Yeah, a lot of people come in and they go right for the coffee.
Yeah.
So when it wasn't there,
there
were some
it.
issues.
But this is what Sarah did is she reached out. She said, hey, Caddy, who do we call to fix that? And I'm like, I'll bet you there's people in the office that need that. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to stand with our staff and I'm going to bring in something as simple as a container of coffee.
And you made so many people happy.
I know I did. But remember, folks, it doesn't have to be life changing.
It doesn't have to be big. It can be the little things like bringing somebody coffee. It can be going for a walk around the neighborhood. A phone call, text message,
text. Yeah. Think about the different ways that we communicate with people. We can do it through Facebook. We can do it through Instagram. We can do it through email. We can do it through texting. We can do it through a phone. We can actually go knock on somebody's door.
Oh my gosh.
That may be scary. Maybe give me a heads up.
I was going to say, don't just show up because if anyone rings my doorbell, I go and look out the window to
first.
See who it is.
I know. I think we all do that too. There's that freaky salesperson that comes around. But that is in another way, we think of that as just showing up for people, but that's also advocacy. When somebody doesn't feel like they have the ability to reach out for whatever the circumstances are, maybe somebody's in the midst of somebody passing away and they're sad. Somebody has lost a pet, or somebody is going through a critical health issue. When we just do something as simple as making a phone call or showing up or whatever that looks like, that is advocacy. advocacy.
And it's just a good reminder that advocacy can be big or little or in the medium, kind of like the three bears, the Goldilocks and the three bears, you know.
Where's she going with
I
this,
don't know.
folks?
Just for some reason that story came in my head like too big. I don't know.
Just
Never
right
mind.
Or too small.
Never
Okay.
mind.
Not quite sure where she's
I don't
going
know
there,
where I
folks.
was going with that either, but
and
I had a track, but it derailed.
Derail. Pick up the pieces.
Yeah, I don't know where I was going.
You said something that is another part of advocacy, which we haven't talked a lot. We talk about personal advocacy, but there is also the very large advocacy. And all of us who are in the recovery community, we now know that funding has been cut from across the board from a lot of places. If you are somebody who has been impacted, I encourage you, find out who your local representative is, find out who your senator is, find out who your congressperson is, and write a letter, send an email, make a phone call. If you or somebody you know has been impacted by some of the changes that have taken place, I'm not going political. I'm just going what the reality is here, folks. Please just hear me from a voice of takes the people who are experiencing or know that there's going to be a bad outcome because of people. We need to step up and we need to step out. This is a progressive radio station, so those of you who know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But I choose to be more neutral. But I want people to know that when their voice is heard, their voice is heard. Our congresspeople, our local representatives, all those people, we are the constituents, the people that are living in the neighborhoods, living in the cities, living in the...
And she's an elected election judge, so she knows what she's talking about.
Kind of. But that is the other part of advocacy. So I want everybody to hear that and understand that that's what we do as American citizens, is that if we can say something so somebody can hear it, so that maybe change might not be on the horizon, but the voices are being heard. So I will get off my stump on that one. But that's big advocacy, and that's an important part of the messaging.
Big A, little a.
Big A, little a. We talk about it. So back to what Minnesota Recovery Connection does. This is our call to action. We are talking about our principles of what we do at Minnesota Recovery Connection. Sarah and Darnell talked about the peer-to-peer services, what is important about doing that. It's a lived experience person talking about and with somebody about it's okay.
Mm-hmm. We get it.
We get it.
We know what it's like.
We've been there in our own way.
Yep.
How can we advocate for you and get you the services that you need? Support you. Exactly. And then the other part of it, which will be the next show, which is education. I mean, we educate all day long. What is harm reduction? What is a peer recovery specialist? What is
Minnesota Recovery Connection?
Yeah. What is it that you need to know about your next steps? Because if you tell us what you need, we'll find a way to deliver it to you. And we've been around since 2009. And so it started with, 4 or 5 people saying, we want to look at recovery differently. What is it that we can do? And here we are 16 years later, still, I know. Still doing our deal. But guess what? Nothing comes for free.
No,
Nothing comes for free. So when we say call to action, we say supporting this radio show is extremely important on a personal level, but we know we're hitting a larger audience. And then the work that we do in our office and in all the places that we reach out to, we have outreaches that we do. We have the Walk for Recovery. We have the Twins game. When is that?
September 16th.
And
Twins against the Yankees.
At Twin Stadium. You can buy tickets on our website, and you'll be able to buy them at the actual Walk for Recovery as well. We'll be sending them, selling them. Well,
selling them at our merchandise tent.
Yes. So we just thank you for listening. Sarah Kemp.
Don't forget to advocate for yourself.
Yes, and advocate for others if you can. Don't feel compelled, but just be available for folks, because when people know that they're cared for and they're loved, they're more likely to care and love for themselves. And that's where the magic is. So I want to thank you.
You're welcome.
I will advocate for anybody out there. I'll advocate for Sarah, my officially unofficial co-host.
Can I get that on a T-shirt?
Yeah, you can. Official, unofficial. So thank you for listening to
Redefining Recovery, a recovery revolution on AM 950.
Delivered to you through Minnesota Recovery Connection. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.